especially now that everybody's coming back
This is a call meeting at the board. Wanted to have at our last meeting, so we'll get started. Just change.
Yeah, we've had a lot of requests to have comments from the public prior to us taking any type of action today. So we want to give everybody time to do that, but we need to kind of limit it. I think a number of people would like to have some comments, but we'd like to, maybe if you would keep it to 3 minutes if you could, and we'll do this for as long as we need to, for everybody who feels like we have something to add to the discussion, has an opportunity to do so. So at this time, we'll open it up for any questions or comments. But I would ask you again, to limit it if you could. So anybody who wants to be heard will have time. Mike?
Would it be helpful if the presenter gave a brief overview?
If you'd like to, I'm fine with it. That's fine. If you'd like to do that first, that would be good. Let me ask you, is Jeremy, would you have an interest in that?
I don't object to it. I could make a comment, I guess, as well.
Okay, let's do that. Mine's a good idea. Go ahead.
Excuse me, before you start, let's ask too, for those of you who are going to speak, if you don't mind, which one you in favor of? Which project? Okay.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Which one are you speaking on behalf of?
Just if you feel, just whatever your comments are.
Let me just say, before Mike, turn it over to Mike, Mike is my partner and my long-term friend, and we've been investors together in hotel. So, Mike, you're going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. And I thought it might be helpful just to give a brief overview of our Piney Woods Common LLC, the group, and the project behind it. And I'll try to do so in 3 minutes as many things.
Well, I would think the two of y'all would present the project. That's fine. I just a general comment for the parties not directly involved.
And back about me, I came to Thomasville 30 years ago when I bought a hunting place. My wife and I loved it, so we moved here. We moved here about 8 or 10 years later, 1997. Is it working? No. I'll try to speak up. In 1997, we moved our family here and have been great fans and lovers of Thomasville ever since. In my business career, I was in the printing and publishing business and sold it in 1997. But along the way, I was diversifying and got into the hotel business. So about 1995, I began investing in hotels, building hotels, and
a little bit closer, and it should be working.
Building hotels, and by 2012 ended up with about 165 owned and operated hotels in 17 states. So I guess I was sitting on the sideline when a group in Thomasville had already started to plan the Piney Woods Commons project, which you will be voting on today, and which we'll see more of. And so they asked me to be a part of their group. I was very flattered to do so. I think, of course, Bernie and I are the managers of Piney Woods LLC, but also in in the mix is the Austin and Phil Watt and Ben and Hale McCullough. And they were really started on this project prior to my involvement. So I've been involved about 2 months. The project was looking at the boutique hotel and the mixed-use development. When I got involved, I said, yes, this is good, but one, we need a brand, and two, we need to make a larger project. Hotels don't work very well in the 50, 60 room category, so let's at least get it up to 75. I thought we needed a really signature restaurant, one that would attract and create demand for the downtown. That restaurant would benefit by leverage from hotel guests as well as the actual walk-in traffic from the local area. So again, the concept was evolved, and Chairman, if it's okay, can we circulate pictures for everyone that like we have here?
For time's sake, you talking about for us? Or
Well, they'll just pass them around.
Brad, you can send them out.
Okay.
Keep going.
I'm gonna keep going, I'm not away.
Brad will go away.
Okay, we'll pass around pictures for those of you who haven't seen it, but the site concept was designed to include the hospitality as its core. Of course, the restaurant being a signature chef-owned, chef-operated restaurant, much like maybe a Houston's in Atlanta, a good, simple, clean menu. It would have a robust catering kitchen so that it could also service what we are recommending in this project, which is an event center. A modest event center, and I think that's really the genesis of what kind of started all this, so an event center that could be serviced by the hotel, by the catering kitchen, and all three of those components would lever off of each other. And then in addition to that, because this is a large site, there would be room for a residential component. So we believe that a residential component ought to be a part of this project. In essence, the live, work, play trend that's going around the country. We think Thomasville might be ready for some of that on a careful and limited basis, where the hotel and its operations could actually service some residential living. And so, an exciting project. The group before me had already hired Reese Vanderbilt architects to come up with concepts. They've done a feasibility study by Duff and Phelps. And all the numbers that we were able to get a hold of and look at, including my friends and contacts in this industry, say that this should be a success concept. Again, it's an exciting multi-dimensional project. We would employ about 60 people, and our granular estimates are that we would have about 60 people and a payroll of $2.6 million. So our total sales of this project would be about $6 million. I don't know how to really estimate the downstream economic impact. They say 2.8 times that. If you do that math, it's somewhere north of $10 million. So we believe it meets the criteria set by the board, and its multi-use and its benefits to Thomasville. And as to the financing and other things, I'm going to ask my good friend, partner here, Bernie, to talk quickly about that, and then we'll sit down and be happy to take further questions.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike, you can see, he's very modest, but what he left out was, and I think the PDA, I'm not sure everybody totally understands it. In addition to owning and managing 165 plus hotels, he's built from ground up or refurbished, maybe refurbishing over 30, actually 35 hotels. And like I said, in 17 states. So we got the qualifications, the financing. We've come forth with our partners. Mike and I will be managing partners, like he said. Philip and Austin Watt, multi-generational people from Thomasville, and Ben and Hale McCullough. So that's the core group. The latter four are sponsors' family. And but Mike and I would be the managing members. The good news of all this the last few days is people are coming out of the closet to invest in this project because of Thomasville. And I think it's consensus of the quality that we need, and the people involved. It's a great compliment, and we appreciate it. We appreciate all the PDA is doing, and we know they care about Thomasville, and all we want to do is look at the facts. Financing, and I think most people know this, that if something makes sense, Shay and I can get it financed. There's no doubt. With our connections, you know, we borrowed a lot of money and we paid a lot of money back. You know, that's an important thing. And so we have major financing. We don't want to disclose exactly what we got, but rest assured, and I think PDA knows that we can finance it. Equity, we think in Thomasville, Georgia, that it's going to take 50% equity. That means, let's say phase one is 20 million, we're going to need about $8 to $10 million. We need $10 million of equity. That's pretty serious money, and we're very confident that we got the $10 million equity. So I'll just leave that at that. Is there anything else, Mike? So let's just open it up.
Right.
Or-
What would like, Jeremy, if you would please.
Sure.
Give an overview of y'all's project.
Do you have any visuals?
No, we actually did a presentation about, what was it, about 3 weeks ago?
We can make copies if we need
We
to.
passed that out. It was actually here at the screen at that time when we were doing the presentation.
Did you take some copies of both visuals that you have? I handed them to you during the time. Yeah.
PDA does have those.
Yes.
Great.
We'll make some more, maybe.
Y'all have more.
We'll make some more.
It's okay with us to not distribute.
You don't want to distribute?
It's not necessary.
Okay.
I didn't know I was going to be giving a presentation today because we gave a presentation a few weeks ago at this same venue. I got up and showed our concept. We talked about the numbers, the pluses and minuses. The other group also had their chance to get that presentation. That presentation was for something that's a little different than it is today, which is okay, things evolve. So I haven't had really a chance to prepare to respond to things like that. Obviously, I'm not, there's no multi-generational thing with my family. We have run hotels in Thomasville exclusively since 1985. I worked in the maintenance department in the hotel, the Holiday Inn. I guess you probably all remember when I was 13. This is the only thing that I've ever done. I have extensive experience in it with a all-in-all management company for a period of time. And I moved back home because this is where I wanted to be. We saw the opportunity for a project. And I wrote this just in case I needed to comment because I wasn't really comfortable with giving a presentation here. But I'd like to read it. And it really isn't a presentation of my company. It's sort of just how I feel about the project in general so I can get that out here to the public. So if that's okay, I'm going to read it. So I wrote this, and basically, it's not my nature to prepare my comments in advance. And I will add that here. If any of you know me, I'm an off-the-cuff kind of person. I could speak for hours about this topic to anyone who would sit long enough to hear it because I believe in it. And because it's been on the top of my mind for the last 4 to 5 years. In this case, I thought this point so important that I had to write it down so that in the middle of the moment, I would not forget and leave anything out. I was on the Tourism Authority Board as the hotel business representative when Karen Smith presented the topic of the Rosa site and an event center. I was there for the initial concept conversations and I served on the Event Center Advisory Committee. I remembered when the Carl Vinson Institute recommended that a hotel be part of that project in order to ensure its viability. I was part of the RFP process for a downtown hotel, and I was there when the developer from Las Vegas got involved and ended up bringing that project to an abrupt end. Our current city council has since made the decision to transfer the property to PDA in order to get something going on a piece of property that has become nothing more than an unsightly vacant lot in the middle of town. I'm excited to be able to be a part of a group that presented an idea for the use of that property. I honestly believe that in its purest form, the plan for the Rosa lot all along has been to take a location that deserves to be beautified and revitalized and place something on it that will serve to support and enhance our historic downtown and the broader Thomasville economy. An event center or any civic use development on the site is something that may very well be good for the city of Thomasville and a good use of the site, but is ultimately something that would have to be developed in partnership with the city. It is our initial intention to provide the lodging element that has always been required to ensure the success of the other additional uses of the site, and work in concert with the PDA, Planning Department, and City Council to determine what else is desired and in what form. We have brought the best lodging concept to bear to ensure a successful project on the site. The Marriott will drive traffic to the site that no other branded or boutique concept can accomplish. We've had 4 years to think about it. We own a Hilton property in town, which would be the next probably best. We're already serving those customers, so we thought that bringing a brand that doesn't exist in this town to drive the business that's staying currently in the surrounding areas, we could have gotten any brand at that time unopposed. We chose Marriott. It also allows for a needed level of customization that does not require a full-scale restaurant. I do not think that it was ever the intention of anyone with the city to buy the Roses property to turn it into a standalone destination. Rather, the intention was to have it supplement and support the destination that already exists just a couple blocks away. Some can say that our proposal is incomplete or inferior because it does not address the entire property. But I think that is one of the things that makes our proposal the best. We didn't try to address that part at this stage in the process because we feel it is not our place to do so. That has to be accomplished together. And I would not be so bold as to attempt to offer any preconceived notions without first partnering with our planning department, which I think we can all agree is the most qualified entity to guide that type of discussion. I was serious in my presentation when I said we would take input and seek guidance. Any pictures I may have had drawn to create a concept to help sway this project in the court of public opinion would have been contrary to my commitment to develop that concept with the help of interested citizens in the planning department. I was simply not willing to do that. If awarded the property, we will start gathering the information necessary from those parties immediately, and I believe in a short period of time we will have a site plan that will be better than anything that we could have come up with on our own. I believe this type of collaboration might have been the only point ever agreed on by all parties involved when it comes to the Roses property. Thank you for your time and for being committed to ensuring the success of this very important project. Sorry, I was a little nervous.
Okay, nice job, thank you. Questions, comments, from anyone here? Pete?
Yes, Tom. I know a lot of you, I don't know some of you, so I'll give you a quick second. I've been in the hotel business myself for a long time. I have an interest in a Hampton and in a Marriott, so I understand both of those hotels. I know the people on both sides. I've done business with them on both sides, so I have no argument on. They are both super qualified to do a project. I don't have any problem with that. I have a problem with, and I don't know exactly what Marriott, particular brand of Marriott he is using, and therein lies one of my concerns. And I'm going to tell you, I think what you need in Thomasville is uniqueness. You don't need a custom hotel room. You don't need a custom lobby. You need to get away from the customs, because if you go strictly by customs, the franchise is going to tell you what you've got to do. There are very little modifications that you can make. And my question is, I'm not sure that the entire city of Thomasville, not governmental, we need something almost like a large rooming house, you can call it bed and breakfast, you can call it. It needs to be different because it needs to be unique. When you walk into a room, if it looks like a Hampton out on the highway, people are gonna say, hell, I stayed at Hampton half price. And they're gonna move on. Next time they come, they'll stay out there. And I don't begrudge either side. I don't know that the Marriott per se brand that they're gonna use. Marriott has brands that are unique for small towns as well as the Hilton does. And the Hilton, both of these brands are super brands. I'm concerned about it being similar inside to a regular hotel. You can design the outside, but what are you gonna do inside to make it unique, to make it the quality that we need in Thomasville? I think we need to do a little more digging to make sure that the brand can be modified to be unique to Thomasville, similar to a bed and breakfast.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Dawson.
it.
Thank you.
Yes, no,
How do you do? I don't think I need a microphone. I'm Howard Ferguson. I'm not speaking for either of the parties. I have really a question about procedure. And I'm coming to this very late, but this particular proposal, I believe, takes about a third of the property.
yes.
So I'm a little bit concerned how the PDA is going to work on that concept. Are you going to sell them all the property and they're then basically have it all? Or what assurance does the public have as to the build out of the project? So that's my question.
Okay. Brian, on your presentation, I'll kind of give you some insight on our discussions has been on that, but I think specifically, we've got a regulatory approach. There's some options that we have discussed. I spent an hour and a half, last Thursday morning with the planning department, specifically asking them what options we have to maintain control of the property. Whether it's in deed restrictions, whether it's a development order, what can we do to maintain control of the entire site? And I think he's done some research at the planning department on what our potential options would be. It is our desire, though, to whoever we select, we would ask them to go meet with the planning department and to come up with basically the architectural design, material design, as well as a site plan. That would be required of either party. And we would want to maintain control over the unused portions. It's just the hotel group. They get a site plan approved with a recommendation from the planning department. It comes back to us. And if hypothetically, a 3.5 acre site, it took 2 acres, we're going to, and we've discussed it with Tim as well, we're going to determine what means we have to maintain control of other properties. So we would not be just turning over the full 3.5 acres and say, build what you want to build, and without perfect control. But there's a question on really what tools we have to do that, and that's what the planning department is researching.
So, I mean, basically, I know it was last minute, but we did submit a memo that, and essentially we feel like the two, and we're kind of punting, we're not saying we're selecting either group or advocating for either group. We feel like either group can work, and if we sort of follow this recipe, we can make either group work. And so what we're saying is there's sort of two main approaches that we are advocating. Either we do a development agreement with an attached master plan and design guidelines, which is essentially what you just conveyed. And there are some advantages to that, very distinct advantages, and then there's also a few disadvantages that you want to consider. And then the other alternative would be to take a different regulatory approach, which would be more of a zoning overlay, where we actually rezone the property, which then, brings the property back into the public purview, where anything that goes there would ultimately go before P&Z and before council, because rezoning requires that, that process. So those were the two basic processes that we've laid out here. We've given you advantages and disadvantages to both, and then, but we do feel absolutely it's imperative, regardless of which way we go, that a master plan be included with that as part of that. And I think that what you were talking about, getting down to that more fine-grained level of scale and block size and building development and so forth would occur at that level. And then also, if you decide to go with the development agreement approach, we would strongly recommend that a AICP certified planning or land use attorney be involved in that writing of that document, just because they do that all the time. That's their forte. And so I guess that would be our recommendation. We feel like we can work with either group. We've read both proposals and we can make either one work.
Stephen, look, my reaction to that, obviously, we can do that and have a lot of conversation and plan or whatever, but my understanding, and we've been moving around different meetings and part of it, my understanding is that we're supposed to have a site plan, and we have a definitive site plan. The other group doesn't have a site plan. So,
Well, at that point in time, I don't think we asked them for a site plan at the time that we asked for that proposal. And to Howard's point, I mean, this board does not have the expertise to determine exactly how to accomplish control of the entire site. It is our intent prior to transferring any property to use those tools or any other tools, but we intend to maintain control of whatever goes on that 3.5 acres. We would not turn it over, carte blanche, and say do what you want on the site, or build a hotel and then have be able to do whatever else you want. I think everybody, get back to the core of what we're trying to accomplish. This community spent a lot of money, probably more volunteer hours on our comprehensive plan than any document that's ever been worked on. And so it would be unwise of us not to try the best we could to come up with a plan that corresponds and meets what's laid out in that comprehensive plan. So again, that's our desire to do. We're just saying we don't yet know the tools to do it, so we're going to, we've asked Tim as our attorney, we've asked the planning department, tell us what options we have to maintain long-term control of that property. That's our intent.
I guess my only comment is it really just doesn't seem like a proper procedure where you're going to leave half or 2/3 or 1/3 of the property to the future. That doesn't seem like that's your job unless both people are doing that. And I would just caution whether you really have the tools to do that. I'm not going to say you don't, but so that's my
I would tell you, we certainly don't know what those are. I can just generally tell you what our intent is. And then, we don't know something, what we try to do is go to the experts that do, and tell us to give us your opinion and the options on anything. It's the only thing I know to approach any issue.
Thank you.
Other comments? Ben?
My name's Ben McCollum. I didn't realize there'd be a public comment period. I would have printed notes or brought my glasses, but I did pull up the comp plan because you were referencing that a minute ago. I think it's a very vital document to reference back to. It's something the city spent a lot of time and the community weighed in on drafting and adopting. With regards to the roads of the site, and I'm going to quote this, the mission statement was to preserve, protect, and enhance the character of downtown Thomasville for the enjoyment and benefit of the entire community. Other considerations that were noted was to be sensitive to the height, scale, and character of various adjacent neighborhoods. Utilize architectural vocabulary that is supportive and complementary of the surrounding fabric. Include a mixture of uses and amenities that are useful for the development itself and for the greater city. And then importantly, consider adding uses in residential types that are missing or underrepresented in Thomasville's inventory, like townhomes, live-work units, maker spaces, and co-working office spaces. And so I think it's important to address the entire site when you're making this very important decision. And I think you can't underestimate how important that is to go into this with the entire site in mind, not just piecemealing it as a process unfolds. So I just wanted to weigh in and state that.
Jeremy?
I'd like to make a comment to that. Both groups are going to address the entire site. We're just going to be addressing it with the planning department, who is the entity that worked most closely with the blueprint to develop that, and who all in this room have said that they trust, and also had them come to a meeting to present, because it was so important that the planning department be part of the discussion. We're just trying to make them a larger part of the discussion than I think was expected, or of us. I think multi-use is good as well. So I just don't think without their advice that we should be saying exactly what that is.
I'll point out, this board has made the statement, I think in the meeting in July, that any transfer of this property would not be done until we had a recommendation from the city planning department that the plan that is submitted is in keeping and in line with the comprehensive plan. That's been stated publicly numerous times. So, again, I said it 3 times, how we accomplish that is something that somebody else is going to have to tell us, but we are certainly going to ask.
You might want to say it's rebuttal, but it's really not. I agree with Jeremy. I mean, I think anything that we each have here is going to take an enormous amount of work to perfect and cure into a final plan. I think the idea of which hotel brand, which hotel within a brand, who your managers are, whether you're going to offer food service or not, are going to have such a tremendous impact on the final plan that it's going to evolve substantially. And all that will be done in close concert with PDA and all the appropriate zoning and engineering. I mean, just where your streetlights are going to go is going to be a major concern of this project. And so I think what maybe we're looking for today is I think we're going to have to pick a horse to say who's best to accomplish this and to lead this property to its ultimate destination, which is, has been quoted very, very well, all of the things that have been said today. Without those things, it would have been frankly uninteresting to me to even participate in this project. I think that's what we're here for, is to enhance Thomasville. Not just go to a hotel. I can go anywhere and build a hotel. Jeremy can go anywhere and build a hotel. I think the key here is to have something that's unique, something that serves unserved needs currently. And I think our plan comes up with that. It has everything from events to residential. And while they're not perfected, we don't know how many 2-bedrooms and 1-bedroom, but we know we want that live, work, play zone in there. Well, that's going to be affected on the get-go by parking, by impervious drainage, I mean, there are so many things that you've got to pick a horse that's going to lead you in the right direction. Or you're going to end up with something that's, frankly, I think, rather bad. And I think that's where our group has done a lot of that initial planning. It's going to take a lot more with the city, blessings and help. But I think that's where you really make a big mistake, is to try to put a 100-room hotel in a spot and then try to make it work after that. It's got to be done with the master plan involved. Thank you.
Mike, would you just wait up? Would you comment on?
I mean, if it's okay.
What brand? What brand? Because that's a question.
Oh, we're hoping to get one top
brand.
But even that will affect a little bit of this final plan. Okay, so we're don't want to be our first choice, and you're in discussion for them. But there's other brands that would work in what's called the soft brand category, where you really have a boutique hotel with its own identity, but you're able to utilize their expertise, perhaps even their management help you deliver and be sure you got it on track. Well, all of those, I mean, the Hilton construction documents alone are over 400 pages. So if you're not, if you're not working toward the brand at some point, you're going to be way off in left field, and you're going to be stranded. And I don't think either group is close enough to sit here and say that it's not going to take us at least 6 months to really fine tune. But we need exclusive control of the property. Marriott's not going to give them the property. Tilton's not going to give us the brand until they know we are the person to deal with. So I think it's real important for this board to understand you're not picking a project necessarily, although I think you can see there's a lot of differences in those, but you also are picking the horse that's going to take it to the proper fruition of meeting the objectives of the comprehensive plan and the specific site plan for those.
I agree with Mr. Shea as well about the site plan. I just think our take on it would be best to sort of leave that open, because I know that in all the event center committees and the different things that I've been involved in Thomasville, when you start to try to design something, I start from kind of a blank slate. Our picture was just to show you, so that's why I didn't want to pass it around, because again, this project is supposed to fit Thomasville. And so in order for that to happen, it's going to have to be done with the help of Thomasville. So I agree with Mr. Shea. It's just the difference between us and that group is what we wanted the people of Thomasville to actually see where we were. There's no preconceived notion. So all of the concerns about what something's going to look like shouldn't be concerned at all, because we're not going to build it if you don't support it. And that's the bottom line of that. And secondly, I'd like to make a comment to the less nervous when I speak off the top. Also wanted to point out too that the Marriott brand, we picked that brand because I know there's some discussion about it being different or unique. But right now, for the last 4 years, and some of the business people in this town can speak to this, and I wish you would if you can, that there is a huge demand for corporate business in this town. Not so much leisure, to be completely honest with you. Now, leisure is something that we're trying to grow. I think the blueprint said that we needed a hotel downtown to continue that mission. But we picked a business class hotel that could be customized to serve both sets of customers. But currently, the business that's coming into Thomasville is corporate. They're going to want to see that type of hotel. But when they get here, they're going to see this downtown, this nice downtown hotel, they'll be able to walk out and go have dinner and this. They're going to come back here. They're not going to go to the Hampton because it's just like the Hampton. That's not what we're looking at here. So understanding that mix of business is very important to this process, because the leisure business is not here. And when we talk about boarding houses or bed and breakfast, you can't get a hotel room at my Hampton Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but you can get one at the Jackson House for eating any day of the week. Thanks.
At this time, we'll close the public portion.
Open it again.
The public
Mr. Jackson, that's why we're going back and forth with the presenters. Nobody else said anything.
I had my hand up.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
We've heard.
We've had hotels for many years. We had the Radisson involved down in Tallahassee, one I was involved with. And I've been supporting a hotel downtown because of the 18-hour street, trying to get a restaurant that would stay open later, could afford to do so, and have quality food later on. So I think that is critical for a downtown hotel. And if the public, the city, or the PDA is subsidizing a hotel, it's got to have a restaurant. That is where the use is. Anybody can build a hotel in Thomasville, and it doesn't do anything unless you put a restaurant in there and keep a quality restaurant open where people staying at the Mitchell House, et cetera, I talk to people and they're asking me on the street, where can I get a decent meal? Thank you.
All the contracts that are signed, all of the drawings that have been shown, all the discussion that has been held with regard to this decision is extremely important. But something else that's extremely important is the ethical decision of whichever developer you choose to do what they say they will do. Otherwise, it'll end up in court at some point. And my hope is that, I'm glad it's with your board, very much so, because you all are working hard with this, taking time away from your own businesses to do this. But please consider the ethical background of all parties concerned with this and how you feel they will manage what they have said they will do.
You know, I would remind everyone that, and Lynn, you maybe helped me when we did the RFP to do a hotel, was it, what, 3 or 4 years ago, that our city, the city had control of that property, did an RFP. We selected a developer, who's actually from out of Las Vegas, I think, that couldn't complete the project. And I think you need to learn from your other mistakes. And one of the things that we're gonna have to make sure that we do, and we'll discuss our tools of doing that, is whoever is awarded to, we're gonna have to have high level of confidence that they have the means and the expertise to complete that project. And if we get there, we're gonna, my opinion is gonna be that we give, you know, I don't want to go there right now, but I think we're gonna need escrow money, but, to ensure this project gets done. If we don't have the same, end up 4 years later without a downtown hotel, but I think everybody wants, as long as it's done correctly. Man,
I just want to say, I'm Nan Myers. I live at 230 Warren Avenue. I own 228 Warren Avenue. I own a lot on the other side of me. I also have a business in downtown Thomasville. I support the Piney Woods Horse because it engages our town. It engages the locals. It engages me. I would walk to that restaurant and eat on a regular basis. It also engages the comprehensive plan. It's been beautifully made out for our city. So I just hope it's the Piney Woods Horse.
thank you, man.
Here's the point.
We got,
Steve?
yes, yes.
I just have a couple of questions. I'm Ken O'Neill, live on Jefferson Street. Just a couple of questions. Are both of these plans accessible on a city website that anybody can look at?
No, I don't think they are.
I mean, I understand transparency is the most overused word in this city, but I mean, come on, y'all. I mean, you have to have it so people can look at the proposals. I've looked at them. I mean, I have people that have given them to me. You know, one is 40-something pages, the other is something. I mean, I think before you make a decision, people need to be able to look at the entire proposal. There's some funky little things in some of those proposals. I know one of them is asking for the city to fund the marketing person, which I find really, there are a lot of things like that. But other than the transparency process, and I also would like to remind you that, you know, the fact that this thing is even at PDA came about at a less than transparent manner, if you recall. But
Well, Ken, I'll address that. You know, this board didn't acquire the property, didn't request the property. It was deeded to us. And how it got to us is totally irrelevant to me.
I know,
What
but
we
if
do
you-
is what we do with it now that we have it.
But
That's
if you,
what's important
but
to
if
me.
you want public input, publish it so the public can look at it, for God's sake. Also, just on the two proposals, I would like to say, I would like something that adds to Thomasville. Now, I agree, it's very hard to judge something. In the future, all we see is a hotel here, and on the other, we see a hotel plus all these other wonderful things. That adds to Thomasville. I mean, I'm like, yes, I like to walk the dog over there. I like to show people there. I mean, it's a catalytic development. It adds to Thomasville. It doesn't just take from what's already here. And I would just, you know, hey, also another thing, when I left this meeting last time, I was under the impression y'all were gonna meet here and then make the final decision at your regularly scheduled meeting. So all of this about making a decision today was also out of the blue. But that's all I have
I'll
to
address
say.
that as well. What our chairman said is that we would make a decision by the September 24th meeting. We also said, I think it was our original intention, it was my understanding, that we wanted to have a call meeting to make sure that we were properly, you know, vetting the project and looking at everything. Yet, it doesn't preclude us from making a decision. We were very careful to look if there was potential to make a decision today, that proper notice was given, that we followed whatever public meeting requirements were done, placed on the agenda and made available to the press. And that was all done appropriately according to our attorney. So we were very cognizant that the process was done correctly. I mean, you know, whether someone thinks you need 2 weeks, or someone else thinks you need 4 weeks, or someone else thinks you need 4 months, you know, it's up to the individual people on this board. Somebody on this board decides that they feel like they've got adequate information to make a decision or a recommendation.
I'm just talking as a member of the public. I think it would be better if you publish it so everybody could read the proposals and then make your decision at your regular scheduled meeting.
Ken, I can answer a couple questions about the proposals. The proposals came here 2 weeks ago today.
Right.
So once they're in our hands, they are open to the public.
And
we
you
have
come here
given
and
them-
look at them.
Well, no, I have email copies, I have handed out printed copies of anybody who requested, and we'll continue to do that. But it will not be published on the city website because this is not a division of the city. This is the Thomasville Payroll Development Authority. There are positions here from the county and city, and then appointed, and then we're funded by the county and city. But we're quasi-government, we certainly can publish things on our own website, but it wouldn't be on the city's website. The proposals, I have probably emailed and given out, I don't know,
Oh, I
I've
know,
lost
and I
track
have
of how
seen
many.
it, and I'm happy. I
So we
think it
haven't been
still
trying to
should be
hide that
published.
by any means, and I think we can certainly publish it on our website, that's not a problem, but it hasn't been hidden from anybody. I have emailed many proposals out.
Okay, we need to probably, let's go ahead if we can. Ken, thank you, again, you know, we've been very careful in this whole process to include the public. We didn't have to. This PDA board could have voted the day we got it to do whatever we thought was in the best interest of Thomasville. We didn't. We've held numerous meetings, we've gotten input, we continue to get input. I've probably personally taken 100 meetings over this summer. At anybody's request to talk about the project, and we continue to do so. So I'm pretty proud of the way that this board has handled this to this point, trying to make the right decision.
One thing.
Go clear.
First of all, I echo what Stephen said, and I commend the PDA. I think once it got here, the transparency couldn't be any better. And the whole PDA, however, whatever comes out of this thing, they've done a really good job. The only thing I would add is there is a comparison that we spent, our partner, and a great deal of time taking the 2 proposals and put them side by side. Now that is a document. And we've got it here, and we're prepared to go over it and hand it out. That is, you know, where the rubber meets the road. The only other thing, I forgot, I think everybody knows, Ben and Hale and Philip and Austin had to be out of town, but in addition to what Wallace said, that not only is our group got skin in the game, it's real important to put skin in the game. It's amazing how that brings you to the right conclusion. Plus, Ben and Hale and myself and Kathy live within 100 yards of this property. And rest assured it's gonna be done right, and there's no doubt about it, and the quality is gonna be there. You know, so.
Okay.
I'd like to.
So we're gonna have 2 more. Pete, don't comment if you have something else, Jeremy, before we close. Okay, this will be our last comment.
Thank you. I know both of the franchises that we are talking about. They both have a facility that works. The facility that is being proposed and what I've heard here today, I'm gonna have to take a side in order for the board to move ahead. And I'm gonna recommend that the unique people that are represented right here, I'm gonna recommend that this board go with them because it's long range, number one. Number two, it's not gonna be a standard, what I call a regular room, regular lobby hotel. And that's what we need in order to get enough money to afford it. Otherwise, you're going to have to compete with the people out on 19. So I'm recommending this group based on today listing.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend a co-op.
Thank you all of you for the concerns and the other comments, we appreciate it. All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, I'd like to address some things to the board and also obviously for the public. First of all, just thank all those with an interest in developing the Roses property. It's quite apparent we have a large interest in that. And I think nobody is sitting in this room that's not naive enough to think there's very strong support on both sides of this process for both of these companies. And I think it's been well said that we have two very good companies that are looking at development here. And I think we also know that on both sides there's going to be people that are very passionate about what they believe in. And I think that's a good and healthy thing. You should be passionate whichever way that you're going through with it. And I think the involvement in this property has shown how the citizens of our community have a genuine interest in maintaining the historical preservation of the downtown area and at the same time allowing for business growth and development. And we're fortunate, again, that we have two local developers that have a desire to develop the property, which was, as already been stated by Stephen, given to the PDA. We didn't ask for it, we didn't buy it, but it was given to us, and that's a good thing for us to be able to utilize that property in a manner that fits with all that's been talked about here today. I will say that the circumstances of the development of this property is unique to the PDA in the sense that over the past years that I've been sitting on the PDA now for 5 years, and I've served, the past years I've served here, I've not experienced where there was an opportunity for multi-parties interested in locating on the same piece of property, much less to want to buy the piece of property and to make a decision which party we had to choose we're going to work with. In fact, from what I know of past history and doing some questioning, this may be the first time that any board has experienced that. I don't know. So it's a different situation than what the PDA normally has had to deal with. And again, I don't think it's a bad problem to have, but it comes with some challenges. And believe me, I have thought through this thing very much. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now before we even finish my notes that I've spent more hours probably going through this because it is such a decision that affects so many people and friends on both sides. And so of any decision I've made since I've been on the county commissioner, I don't mind telling you, I've spent hours working on this, doing some research of my own, not necessarily taking for granted everything that's been given, but just looking into some of those things. And there's been some discussion in our community for some few years now as to best use of the Roses vacated property. And I think studies, everyone would agree, have been done, discussions have been had that there was a need for a downtown hotel in Thomasville. And this seems to be, to me, and to those discussions and those researches, that this is an ideal spot for that hotel and, of course, some other multi-use on the property has been discussed. Planning and zoning has been involved in some of the discussions, as well as the city of Thomasville planning department, long before the PDA got deeded the property. Those discussions revolved around being mindful of the desire to see the property developed in a way that's keeping with, as already been said here today, the overall comprehensive plan for growth and development of our community. And as a member of the PDA board, I want you to know I can only speak for myself, but I think each of my colleagues would agree that our desire to see the property, as we've already said, developed in a manner that is keeping with the comprehensive plan, as well as the overall historic nature of the buildings in our downtown area. And this being the unique situation it is with the multiple
developers having the desire to develop the property, which would primarily be a downtown hotel and, of course, other possible multi-use on other parts of the property. The PDA had to make a decision of what was going to be most fair to the developers and how to best take those offers for the property. We opened up, just a little history here, we opened up and to any interested parties in the opportunity to make known to the PDA their desire to develop this piece of property. And in that initial offering, for those of you who did attend, chose to attend, we had 3 local developers express an interest in developing this piece of property with the hotel being the primary business on the property. The PDA then in turn invited all 3 of these developers to make a public presentation, which was done right here in this room, as to their intent of developing the property. And developers knew, we knew, when they were making those presentations, they don't have all the details worked out. That would be impossible to have at that very moment, because you do need to set seed planning to work out some of those details. And we had 3 very good presentations with, of course, a lot of variation in some of the details. So after that, to further help us as a board here in our decision couldn't be made just based off those presentations. We needed to come up with some other criteria that would help us as the board members here decide which would be best fitting with the PDA and with the community in making that decision. So we drafted a 15-point questionnaire, which was given to each of the developers, requesting information in more detail on how they were going to develop the property in the form of a proposal. And included were questions of how their development would fit into the mission of the PDA, which in summation is to create jobs, increase revenue into the community through the creation of jobs, as well as the sale of utilities, services, and increase the tax base for our county and for our school system. And also there were some direct questions as to incentives that the developers expected for development of this property, and the questions so that we might determine if the developer, of course, would be financially sound enough to see the project through to completion. One of the potential developers at that time decided to withdraw. They did not fill out their 15 questionnaire, and they withdrew, and that left us with 2 developers who chose to answer those questions and present their proposals to the PDA. Both of these groups spent a lot of time, spent a lot of effort, a lot of money putting those proposals together and following the guidelines that we had asked. Again, this being a unique situation for the PDA, I believe handling it in the manner we have with the oral presentations and then the proposals based on the questions asked was the fairest way that we could gain personally here the information necessary for each board member to draw their own conclusion as to which developer had best offer. That was in keeping with the mission of the PDA and, of course, fitting in with the approval of the planning department and the city and overall comprehensive plan. In my opinion, again, all of us have an opinion. We've heard some of those here this morning. But in my opinion, both of the developers presented a very attractive proposal to develop the property. To make sure that the city's planning department was comfortable with both of these developers. As Stephen has already stated, he went down as a board member. He talked to the planning department. And I think, over an hour and a half or so in their office. And they said that they would be able to work with either one of the developers. They believed that the project could work and that they could work with either one of them to be sure that we follow the comprehensive plan and that we preserve the integrity of our historic nature in our downtown. On top of that, believe me, there's been a lot of citizens voicing their opinions. And that's fine. I think that's healthy. We need that input. So all of that, it's not like, we have meetings going on and on for another 6 months. Believe me, we've gotten input. And, I don't know all the input that Stephen's got. Stephen doesn't know all the input. We don't know, but I'm sure many of us have heard from a lot of the same people. And again, that's healthy. But I think we're, again, just very fortunate that we have two very capable developers interested in this project. And however, I will tell you as a board member, this makes it difficult to choose between the two. Now, again, everybody's got their opinion, but as board members, we've got to look at the facts we've got, and we've got to look at the facts we've asked for, the presentations, and intertwined with that is what maybe different citizens have called and talked to us about with their concerns. And I can assure you that, I'm not here to name and call and tell who's called me and whatever, but, there's been things from both sides that people had questions about and wanted to make sure that whichever developer got the property, that it was, that some of these concerns were addressed. In fact, I'll tell you one of the things that that makes it difficult to choose. For me, and I'm sure for other members on this board, we all have friendships with all those involved in the development of this property on both sides. This is a small town. I don't have to tell you that. We all live in the same town. We work together. We go to church together. We visit together. So there's no secret. We're a community, and that's good. And I tell you all that to tell you that I hope this doesn't split our community. I don't think it needs to, and hopefully it won't. Nonetheless, though, as much as we would like to, we can't transfer this property to both people. We can't transfer this property to both developers. We have to make a decision on one or the other. And no matter how difficult that decision is, we've got to make it. And no matter which way the decision goes, each of us, grown people in here, and we understand there's going to be a happy developer and there's going to be a disappointed developer that maybe doesn't get chosen. So there's no way to make both sides happy in this choice. And again, I'm speaking for my heart and for myself. I'm not speaking for any other board member. I believe, though, that each board member has had ample time to review the documents we requested from the developers for a reason. And I think we've had ample time with the time that's gone by to go through those documents. And I might say that, I know people have done their spreadsheets. I've done mine, okay? And I hope that everyone sitting on this board has done likewise. But I did it with the information that we asked for and that we've been provided. So delaying the vote, in my opinion, again, my opinion, okay? I'm not speaking for anybody else on this board, is not going to benefit the PDA, nor is it, in my opinion, fair to the other developers, to either of the developers, to allow them at this time to come in and start making changes to the proposals after they've had the opportunity to dissect one another's proposals. I'm in business. I make proposals. If I get an opportunity to dissect my person that's bidding against me, I can come up with some good things and I can make some changes in mine. But I don't think that's fair to either entity to do that. Upon hearing the oral presentations, and again, this is Mark speaking, okay? In examining the proposals of each of the developers, I find some, what I would call critical things that are involved in my decision of whom I would like to see awarded this project. I do have, just for the board members here, and the public can have these afterwards, whatever, but I want to kind of just go through a few of these with you. And again, I'm sure you've done your own homework, so, I'm not trying to persuade you one way or the other, So just to go through some of those, again, this is based on the oral presentations and these proposals that came in. And again, having poured over those. I'm just going to point out a few of them, I'm not going through all 50 of the questions there. I mean, they're there for anyone who wants to read. Number one, Southern Lodging is offering to purchase the property for two different ways. One for $600,000, paying in monthly installments, or $500,000 in cash payment. So there's an offer to buy the property. I don't know that the PDA's ever been in a position where somebody was offering to buy the property. That's great. I hope we can continue to do that. Piney Woods Commons is also offering to purchase the property for $500,000. The option, if the PDA so chose to take, of Southern Lodging does give the PDA an opportunity to collect another $100,000 for the sale of the property. Another big thing to me, and again, this is, this is something I actually went back and did some research on. Southern Lodging is not requesting a tax abatement. Okay, that's pretty well, you don't hear that much with people who are coming to town to develop. Most of them want a tax abatement. And I understand why, if I'm on the other side of it, why I want a tax abatement. And I think you'll understand when I give you some of these figures right here, if you don't already have them. This would be with investment that they say they're going to make. This would be a result in a property tax paid to the school board in the county and the school board, a total of around $135,000 a year. Okay, everyone in here, I'm assuming, probably knows kind of how tax abatement works. I think it's the first 3 years you pay no property tax, and then it's graduated in out through whatever length the PDA normally uses, which is 10 years is what we normally use. So by agreeing to pay the property tax in lieu of abatement over 10 years, I went to our tax assessor's office and I had them to run the numbers for me because I didn't want to take just numbers thrown out there, okay? So I had the tax assessor to run the numbers for me. And it's, if you use that investment total, around $135,000 a year. But by agreeing to pay the property tax in lieu of abatement, I was more concerned not what it is one time, but what is it over a period of 10 years? What is the value of that? Over 10 years, this would result in approximately $800,000 of property taxes paid to the county and to the school board together in our community. And of course, with Piney Woods Common, they requested that tax abatement. That would result in, if their investment was the same, it's not the same, their investment's more, but if their investment was the same, that would be a loss of $800,000 to our tax base in the community. And you'll see that what it is, that's the facts. Another thing that I saw in the proposals, again, one of the questions we had asked is, what do you want incentives or and you can go back and read that question. I think it's question number 10. Southern Lodging put in their packet, in their proposal, that they were willing to put $500,000 in an escrow account. With that money to be forfeited to the PDA if the project does not begin construction within 6 months of transfer of the property by the PDA to Southern Lodging. And of course, that transfer, as Stephen has already said, and I'll go into a little bit of that later, but would not be made until the PDA was given approval, whichever developer got the property, would be given approval to the design of the project. But they put that clause in there that if they did not begin within 6 months to transfer the property, no strings attached, that money would be forfeited to the PDA if it did not begin in that period of time. Of course, there was, did not find in Piney Woods Commons any offer of any cash incentive. You know, I'm not saying that they wouldn't come back in here later and do it, but all I had to go on now, I'm telling you, as I made my choices, is what we asked for in our documents as we had said it at the table. But one of the things that I did wrestle with and look at, and in fact, I'll just tell you, I went and got somebody that understands legal language much better than I do to explain to me exactly what this meant in their proposal. And Piney Woods gave an answer to question 10 where they stated that they would have the right to sell the property back to the PDA at their cost should at any time during the intense planning and approval stage they saw an impediment to a successful completion. So again, all I've got is facts that's been presented. And to me, what that showed is that one group is putting $500,000 up to say, if we don't get going here with the project, it's forfeited to the PDA. The other group is saying, we haven't quite finished all of our work on this, which I understand, but if in somewhere into this we get that we don't see our numbers are going together, we want to sell the property back to the PDA. And so, again, that's just there. In answer to question 11 concerning the financing, about being in place for the project of Southern Lodging, had a letter of commitment, is what it's called, from Synovus Bank for $7.5 million loan for the project. And Piney Woods, I have no doubt, can get up the financing. I don't challenge that at all, but they didn't have anything specific in order at that time. In reference to question 13 as to who would manage the property once it was complete, Southern Lodging gave the names of proven local management team to manage the property. Piney Woods Common at this time had not yet determined in their proposal who their management team would be, and but stated that at some of the out-of-town firms, and gave the names of a couple of the out-of-town firms that they were considering that. So again, this is just my analysis of what I've gone through, and I think personally that this is what this board needs to go on from presentations we saw, proposals we asked, and the comments that we have had from the community. And Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to go ahead and step up and I want to make a motion. And after a lot of thought and consideration of the facts as presented in the proposals, and consideration of the concerns expressed to me by those in the community, with whichever developer is chosen, I move to select Southern Lodging, LLC, as a developer for the property based on proposals submitted to the PDA and subject to further negotiations, drafting, and execution of documents concerning ownership and development of the Roses property, and including but not limited to the following terms. And I want to also, the chairman, pass these out to each of you because the motion does have some restrictions in it, and I don't want to just read them off. I want you to be able to follow me with them on, because this is part of my motion that I'm making. The purchase price for the property, sir.
You got a number?
Yes. Yes, and I can give you the copy for it. These were the terms, but not limited to the following terms, but inclusive of. The purchase price of the property from the PDA is to be $600,000. There will be no tax abatement granted on the development of the property. $500,000 escrow will be forfeited to the PDA if construction is not began within 6 months of transfer of the property from the PDA. The Roses property reverts back to the PDA if the hotel is not substantially completed within 18 months of the approval by the PDA of the final plans and designs of the hotel development project, which includes the hotel and any related improvements with the hotel development. Number 5, the PDA will have final approval in the sole and exclusive discretion of the PDA of the design of the hotel development, including but not limited to height structures, architectural details, and acreage needed for the hotel development. I'm stopping the motion to tell you some of the reasons I made this is because of some of the concerns in the community of development by either party. Number 6, the portion of the Roses property needed for the construction of the hotel development will be surveyed and segregated as a separate parcel and be called hotel parcel. The balance of the Roses property, not included in that hotel parcel, would be termed the other parcel, may not be improved or further subdivided without the prior consent of the PDA in the sole and exclusive discretion of the PDA, which consent may include architectural details and aspects and restrictive uses. And finally, that the PDA shall have an assignable right to first refusal or an option to purchase the other parcel at a price per acre of $130,000 and $130,680. And that price was determined, that's the end of my motion, but that price was determined based off of the tax books value of that piece of property per acre. Valued at, that piece of property is valued at $495,276 on the tax books. So, Mr. Chairman, that is my motion at this time.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Have a second. Okay. Any discussion, Chairman?
Yes, I'm correct. Conflict of interest.
Very.
I've got my position as chairman and CEO of Thompson National Bank. I've got a direct banking relationship with the main principals on both sides. I've discussed the financing in an indirect way with one, direct way with the other. And again, this was the financing provided to whoever's selected.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have something to say. I'm going to be opposed to the motion. You know, we had our meeting last, 2 weeks ago, and set up a timeline. You know, my intent for this meeting was for us to highlight the shortnesses and the concerns that we had in each proposal, so that we could get the best deal for the city, for the PDA, and the best outcome for Thomasville. I have concerns about both of them. I think the Piney Woods project is certainly more comprehensive. It fits in the comprehensive plan better. There are some terms that you've outlined that you have concern about, I have concerns about too. But yeah, I wish we could have negotiated away, or at least discussed it. With the southern property managers, the concern of what we're going to do with the timeline in which they're going to use the remaining property. I think that we could use some time to speak to them about what their plans were, what their timelines were, their interest in developing it. So I think there could have been some utility for this conversation to dealt with those, to try to negotiate, get the best deal for the city. You know, we'll see where it goes, we'll see how it turns out, but I just want to give that background, what I thought, kind of echo Mr. Ken's comments, what this meeting was going to be, you know, rather than selecting this is the motion that we have in front of us.
Rod, and just to address maybe one of your concerns there about the use of the rest of the property, and I'm not sure how much everyone is aware that's involved in this whole project is. A while back, there was a hotel and motel tax that was made of how that money would be used for the collection of this hotel motel tax. And the county signed a resolution that 37.5%, I have a copy of it right here, 37.5% would go to Destination Thomasville Tourism Authority for the purpose of developing an event center at 207 South Russell Street. So there's a tax collected, sent to the city of Thomasville. And it's, what has been sent over there since December of 2016 is $223,485. So there's a tax being collected on hotels outside the city for that specific purpose, and it's in the language of that resolution. So that has got to be dealt with in this, and I think that's one of the reasons with my motion that we can deal with that. So just for your information.
Any further discussion?
Well, just wanted to clarify my position because, you know, I also, as you've done, looked at each side and, you know, have my list of concerns, which honestly pretty much mirror what you have come up with. And you and I have not spoken in this last 2 weeks at all, so, you know, I just feel that, the points that you raised, you know, are valid points, and so that's why I second my motion.
Okay. My comment is going to be the same as well, we follow the data speak for itself. So this time I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?